Welcome to episode number 23 of the Canadian Prepper Podcast, recorded Saturday, May the 11th, 2019. My name's Eric. I'm the host of the show. I'm based in Southern Ontario. I'm a hunter, target shooter, ham radio operator, VE3 EPN, and computer geek. I got into preparedness when I was working frontline emergency services and witnessed an over-reliance on emergency services during major events such as ice storms, power outages, etc. I started a small preparedness company to help people get prepared and be able to look after themselves for at least 72 hours, if not longer.
Well, greetings from Vancouver Island. My name is Ian, and I live on a small hobby farm. I'm an outdoor enthusiast, sport shooter, reloader, and my farm is designated handyman. Unfortunately, Alan can't join us tonight. He's busy doing a calendar shoot, from what I understand. I think he also mentioned something about getting some high heels fixed and how he needed his nap time or something like that, didn't he?
That's what I heard, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I'm Joseph. I'm a licensed trapper and hunter, and we run a small hobby farm here in central Ontario.
All right, so we've got some waterlogged, and hopefully you brought your water wings along, content for you in this episode. We're going to start off with some news articles relating to preparedness in the outdoors. Next, we'll be letting you know how we've improved our preparedness since our last episode. Then we're going to get into our main topic of this episode, a rundown on the Ontario floods. So we'll move into some news articles first.
Yeah, so just a quick thing that's relevant on the periphery for preparedness is Bill C-71, which was the amendment to the Firearms Act, is coming into its third reading on Monday in the Senate, which probably means, of course, it's a Liberal-dominated Senate, so it's going to pass, which means it'll probably get royal assent within a couple weeks. So that'll be the new law of the land. So I thought I'd give a heads up to those preparedness-minded people out there for those wishing to keep the paper trail low. That's rules will be changing for sure within a couple weeks.
Yeah, hopefully it's nothing too crazy.
Yeah,
we'll find out. I've got a couple of articles here. First one is from Edmonton, from Global News. It says Edmontonians learn about emergency preparedness at an annual event. So it looks like they had an emergency preparedness in the park event go on, where people were able to have the opportunity to meet up with local emergency responders, see what their roles and responsibilities are during an emergency event, and then speak to them about that. And they also had opportunity to learn how they can be better prepared themselves for certain emergency events. So it was kind of neat to see that, the fact that it's starting to be an organized event that's happening across the country from the seams of it. But it's making the news. People are coming out and checking it out. It's encouraging to see.
I think it's definitely becoming more mainstream, isn't it?
Absolutely, it is.
Slowly but surely, yeah.
Slowly but surely, yeah, you got it. And there's something here, yeah, it says thousands of people took the opportunity to learn more about the roles that first responders play in an event of a crisis at Get Ready in the Park Saturday. So the fact that they're even saying thousands of people, that's good. Glad to see that lots of people are coming out.
Yeah, for sure.
And we've got another article here in regards to anybody who's listening that's a firearms type of person. The Liberals deny Tony Clement's claim about secret plan to ban legal guns. So it's been kind of a hot topic the last week or so in regards to the Liberals looking to ban gun ownership. So I figured I'd throw that in there for you gun people that are listening. We'll see what happens.
Well, they didn't really deny it either. They just kind of did some talking points. So Tony Clement put out that speech in the House of Commons, and he basically just said, I've got it on good authority that you're planning on, once the C-71 goes through, using one of the clauses that's in there that will allow them to arbitrarily prohibit various classes of firearms. And in response, I think it was Ralph Goodale, or was it Bill Blair? I can't remember which one.
It was Bill Blair.
Yeah, Bill Blair came back.
Didn't deny it.
Yeah, he just said, well, we're just concerned about safety of Canadians. That's what.
Yeah.
So that's it. Yeah, so that stoked the fire for quite a few people, and so the internet's been going bananas the last few days. So I guess you can't really protest something that hasn't happened yet, but by the same token, though, you got to at least be forewarned is forearmed, I guess.
It's definitely something to keep your eye on.
Yeah.
So let's move into what we've done lately for our preps. So for myself, I'm back practicing the lock picking. I was, for lack of a better term, I was picking Alan's brain the other night in regards to some locks I was trying to defeat, but I wasn't able to successfully defeat the other day. So he was able to help me out with that. Unfortunately, threw my back out pretty good, so I was down and out for a few days. Thank God for chiropractors. I'm back. Boom, boom, she back. Get it. Anyways, yeah, side joke. And I got the front yard all cleaned up today. So it was a whole bunch of leaves and all that garbage floating around the front. Went out and did some raking and some leaf blowing and got the lawn tractor all good to go. All the oil swapped out and all the play toys that take oil and gas, and ready for the summer.
Yeah, back pain is one of those things that until you've had it, you don't quite understand how bad that is.
My first run with it, I've never had it before, and it wasn't fun.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's not fun.
No.
So for myself, I had a meeting up time with Vic Prepper 11 down in Victoria. So that was good to meet up with a semi-local prepper. Big day on the farm for us. We had shearing day for the alpacas. So that's where I usually get a bunch of my coworkers to show up, and we all pretend to be farmers for the day. And we get them up on the table, shear the alpacas, and it's a once-a-year thing. Give them their shots, all that stuff. Bit of animal husbandry. It's a pretty fun day though. Afterwards, we have a barbecue, so it's pretty good. But we came out with about I think right now I got about 7 bags of garbage bags full of alpaca fiber behind me right now. And then so that was good. And then one of the people that showed up, actually I didn't know she was coming, but she's a big permaculture farmer, and so she was a bit of a permaculture expert. And so we picked her brain for a bunch of stuff, and with the promise of some more wood mulch and alpaca poop next time she popped by, because her help that day was really welcome, that's for sure, and also her knowledge was really good too. So good work on the local mag group.
And then the photos you sent were great.
Yeah, and then so the of course everybody else walked away with a bunch of eggs because we have tons of those right now. I mentioned the sunchokes I think in the gardening episode, but I made sure I planted those in appropriate places, and then picked up some free siding from one of my neighbors to waterproof the chicken coops. So free is good.
Free is good.
Yeah, free is always better.
Yeah, and that's about it for me.
Awesome. Well, maybe.
As far as
you got anything?
Yeah, we've just been stacking wood for the most part, slowly getting the yard up. I think we only have one more load, and then we're done stacking wood. Be good for next winter. Make sure to get extra though.
How many cords do you usually go through?
Usually 18, but this winter was so long that we ordered 21 this time because we ran out of firewood.
Oh wow!
No, it's amazing how fast that you go through that stuff. I mean, like, we're not nearly as harsh as you guys, but we went through probably almost double what we normally do, just because it wasn't so much the harsh winter; it was just the length of it. It was normally we're like 5 months of the year that we run the fireplace, and this time I bet you it was closer to 7.5.
Yeah, I own a chainsaw max, and it was dealt with quickly.
Yeah, exactly. So, no, that's awesome.
Yeah. And then, as I'm sure everybody can hear, we got the chicks too going.
Yeah, it was good. So you incubated those?
Yeah, we got a brand new incubator. One of the ones where it just has a little pump on it, and it auto turns the eggs and everything. So that was a lot nicer.
Oh, is that those yellow Brincy ones, or is that the white Hovabator ones?
It's got a clear door on it. Yeah, Brincy. There we go.
Yeah, those are pretty cool ones for sure. They're like the Rolls Royce version for sure.
Oh yeah, it feels nice.
Takes away a lot of the guesswork when it's got a humidity meter and everything on it. So that's certainly another podcast we can cover off chickens, because you could spend hours talking about those too.
Oh, absolutely! It's on the list for sure. All right, how about we move into the main topic? So, main topic of the show for today is the flooding in Ontario. So we've got I got some questions for you, Joseph. Don't mind maybe answering them for the listeners.
For sure.
So I guess first off, we should start off with was the actual flood in your area, was it just caused by rain, or did any sort of mechanical failures happen with local dams or flood control measures or anything else? Like, what was the actual root cause?
The root of it was the massive snow we got this year, because there was more than any other year, and then we had just solid weeks of rainfall. So between the snow melting and all this extra rain all at once, it all flooded everywhere. Lots of roads were closed and everything.
That's crazy.
Wow, so mainly just Mother Nature then, right?
Yep. Yeah, she's off her pills this year.
Oh, here we go. So what were you seeing in your area as the flood warnings came in and the water started rising?
Lots of roads all of a sudden we're underwater or non-existent. And then a lot of inside Huntsville, a lot of the town squares and everything saw flooding. I know South River, about 40 minutes north of us, their dam was overflowing like within days.
And yeah, you mentioned the impassable roads. Like, how many feet of water are we talking? Like 1, 2, 3 feet, or?
Over the road closest to us, we got about 2 feet deep.
So you basically, if you don't have a snorkel, you're pretty much out of luck.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not fun to drive through.
Well, no, and even I think most cars that'd be coming inside the door jam too. I mean, after
yeah, they actually had to park 2 big snow plows in front of where the water was because people kept trying to drive through it in their little cars, and they'd get stuck and they'd have to pull them out.
You can't fix stupid.
No,
apparently not.
Yeah. Unless they're just trying to make a cable ferry and just kind of drag it across or something. But
it depends on what's going through your head at the time. Maybe you're thinking I can make it, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, I guess you can't see the bottom through the water either, so you don't know if it's 3 inches or 2 feet. But
true, but if there's 2 or 3 cars already in there stuck,
well,
call that a clear. Anyways, did you and your family end up leaving, or did you stick around?
No, luckily we're on a hill, so we didn't have much flooding around our place. Tell you though, the gullies we have for draining around our house, they were pumping water like no tomorrow.
Wow. Did you guys change anything to stay functional while the roads were impassable?
Yeah, actually, because that road beside us, or I guess not beside us, but it's our main road to get to the nearest town. So when it closed down, we had to go to the next town over, then onto the highway, then back up to town.
Oh, wow.
So a 15-minute drive turned into a 40-minute drive.
Yeah, but it pays to know all the different side roads and alternate routes you could potentially take, right?
Yep, it does.
No, that's where those backroad maps books come in handy for sure.
Absolutely.
So as far as that goes, so you said your house was up on a hill, so no flooded basements or anything else. Like your house didn't personally affect you at all.
No, we didn't. We didn't have any more water than we usually would right around the house. I know down our road though there was quite a few washouts. Our road, it wasn't wide to begin with, but once it started washing it away, it got pretty narrow.
So with the washed out roads there, were you guys isolated at all, or were you able to still kind of freely move about?
For the most part, there's enough back roads. I think most people, including us, could get around one way or another. There was definitely some heavy detouring though, if you wanted to get anywhere.
Fair enough. Again, back to the back roads maps, right?
Yup. Oh yeah, you had to know where you were going.
And even practicing the alternate routes, not just having the map too. Because if you don't have time to stop and look at a map, it's another thing too, right?
Yeah, it's better to have the map already ingrained in your head, so you know where you're going beforehand.
Yeah. So I guess the main question here is, what did you discover? What your plans or preparedness? I guess plans in general, for lack of a better term. Did something glaringly obvious come at you when this started up?
We were definitely making sure that everything was good in case, waters did start coming through. So like any wood we had was coming in the house as much as we could fit in so that the wood was staying dry if we needed it. We had the camping stoves and everything ready for if the power went out. We were just kind of moseying about doing what we could.
Like, did you find you were missing any equipment, or like not enough propane for your liking for the camp stoves or anything like that?
We had enough to get us for a while, like probably, I don't know, I'm gonna guess at a week. We don't have a whole lot of propane, so we definitely want to stock some more of those up, just on the off chance. Other than that, though, like we'd like to have some more water stored up, some more filtered water, just in case, because we don't have a whole lot of bottled water. I mean, we still have quite a bit, but it's always better to have more than what you need.
Well, that's for sure. Because I mean, like, yeah, you've got water everywhere, but not a drop to drink, right? Because it's not filtered. It's all probably murky and muddy, and who knows what it's got in for pollutants. I mean, so that's a really valid point to have bottled water nearby in case of a flood.
Yeah, they're already talking about how they're closing some of the lakes because they have to test the water before people can swim in them because they have no idea what was in all this flood water pooling everywhere.
I mean, you think one submerged vehicle, and you've got all sorts of oils and gas and everything else getting plugged into the water. So,
and that's all it takes.
Yeah,
that's a great point. Most people wouldn't really think about that, right? You're just thinking, well, yeah, there's water around. I'll just, I'll grab a life straw or I'll grab a filter. I'll filter it and I'll be good. But there's a lot of potential chemical contamination that's going on.
Well, yeah, and a life straw is good, but I don't want to test the chemical rating on it myself.
It's no good for chemicals.
Yeah.
Don't want that. Let's see. How timely was the military assistance? I know military was eventually deployed out your way to help with sandbagging.
Yeah, there was a couple thousand troops going down to Bracebridge, and I was reading an article. There was some in Ottawa and everything. There was, I think, a couple thousand in each, all filling sandbags. Without their help, the bigger cities definitely would have had a lot bigger issue on their hands.
Oh, good to hear. How soon did they come out?
I don't know for sure, but I think it was right as soon as the emergency was declared, which was within a couple days. So it was pretty quick.
Good.
Well, that's awesome to hear, actually. Just as part of the military response, just kind of a side question, did they set up any sort of public shelters for anybody that may have been isolated from their house or house flooded out or anything else?
I know in the bigger cities, well, I say bigger cities, but they're really not that big. Huntsville and Bracebridge and I think North Bay have some. I can't remember now, but all those kind of cities had multiple shelters set up for all the flood victims. And then whoever wanted to take in people was doing that as well. So it was good to see the community and everybody chipping in.
Awesome. Was there a lot of the community involvement as far as bringing people in?
Yeah, there was lots of volunteers filling sandbags. Everybody was going to their buddy's place if they couldn't stay at their house. It's pretty tight-knit family up here.
Good.
Yeah, it was really good to see.
Any interruption in cell service at all?
Not a whole lot. There was one smaller town about 10 minutes down from us. They have a little hydro station there that's hooked up to a bell tower, and all their breaker boxes and control panels were actually underwater.
Oh yeah, so those two things
shut everything down.
Wow.
For quite a few days, as far as I know, too.
Do you hear of anybody finding any kind of workaround solutions for the cell system being down?
Not that I've heard of. I think Bell was mentioning something about it, about how they were going to start looking at it and coming up with ideas for flood prevention.
And good to hear.
That almost sounds like a solid case for ham radio, doesn't it?
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure.
Absolutely does.
Yeah,
and some of the main repeaters are on towers that cell systems use as well. So there's the potential that the repeater systems could go down as well. But if you're a ham operator, you can set your own up pretty quick. So there's possibility.
Yeah, there's even YouTube videos on field expedient repeaters with a couple of bell bangs, or even if it's short range, just to talk to somebody across town. It's if you don't have cell service, and it's still something, right?
Oh, exactly.
Oh yeah, even little walkie-talkies are better than nothing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sure. Quick question: are any lessons to be learned on maybe like a bug out bag or like a kind of grab and go bag for stuff like this?
I would definitely say one of those like cheap like hazmat suits, the cheap little plastic ones you get in Canadian Tire there, and some duct tape is a good thing to carry if you're in a high water area. Because like we were talking about before, going through that flood water, you have no idea what's in there, right? So just to kind of protect yourself a bit better.
Well, I think, yeah, even poopy would probably be one of the least of your concerns. I mean, if it got really bad, like you think of what happened down in Southeast Asia during tsunamis and stuff, I mean, there'd be bodies in there, there'd be everything. So not that this was that bad, but I mean, still.
Well, yeah, this was pretty mild on the scale of things, but definitely something to look at.
Yeah. So last minute supplies that came up that you guys kind of found yourself short on, like clothing needs, or did you maybe want to scramble to get that USB drive before you ran out of the house or anything? Was there anything learned there?
Yeah, we're definitely trying to get more organized. Everything gets lost in the abyss pretty easy, so it's a slow process, but we're getting there. Definitely, as far as clothes and stuff go, we don't have any big bags inside the house. They're all out in sheds and stuff, which we didn't think of course, till after the flooding happened. So luckily it didn't hit us, but you know, when you only have one change of clothes for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, that can talk really fast, doesn't it?
Yeah, really.
You can only flip your underwear around so many times, right?
Yeah.
Would you think that maybe repositioning a vehicle outside the flood zone would maybe help out at all?
Absolutely. Me and my mother were discussing it actually today about how even if some people had to like park their car in their neighbor's yard or a couple houses down the road where it's just up on the hill and it's not going to get flooded, or whatever flooding is there is so mild it doesn't matter kind of deal, or wherever high ground you could put it would definitely improve things, because a short jaunt to your car is a lot better than being stuck at your house for however many days.
Huh.
I could know.
Yeah, actually, just out of curiosity, you mentioned the cell phone towers, like one of them being with an issue there, and also I guess maybe with some power issues. Like, was actually having actual cash with you an asset, or was it still able to use debit cards and stuff?
There was enough business open that you could still use cash or debit wherever you were going pretty well. There was only a couple gas stations I think that went underwater, so there was still quite a few of them around. Cash wasn't a huge issue for this one, but I would definitely plan for it if anything got bigger.
Well, that's good to know.
Yeah. So as far as gas goes, and besides the ridiculous amount that it's costing everybody right now, did supply become an issue at all?
No, like I said, only a couple went underwater, so there was still enough to go around that nobody was really packed or couldn't get a hold of gas. And a lot of people here have jerry cans in the garage too. I know we have 6 or 7 all full of gas just in case. So
sounds like they were listening to one of our earlier episodes.
Yeah, luckily people have some brains to
Yeah.
do that kind of stuff, right? So you're not totally pooched.
Yeah, I was kind of curious because with all the volunteers coming in to help in the military and everything else, I thought that might put extra pressure on like a reduced number of gas stations. Thought maybe that might come up, but that's good to hear that it was able to keep up.
Yeah. Well, yeah, in Bracebridge, I know they were pretty flooded. I don't know what all went underwater down there, but they have enough business that I'm sure they didn't have a whole lot of an issue.
Cool. So did good neighbors come into play at all, or like a sense of community come in, like when you guys all met up with each other and kind of helping each other out?
Absolutely. Between all the volunteers, which were all local people, going in and helping everybody fill sandbags, helping deliver sandbags, letting the flood victims come and stay at their house until the victim's house was non-flooded, was livable again.
Yeah, I mean, certainly comes
And
to
then
play.
even in Huntsville, there was lots of people that got stuck in their cars. And so people with boats were actually going along and picking up all these drivers that were stuck in the water, which was really good to see.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was cool how everybody's so tight-knit in small towns, eh?
Well, I think it's certainly a different case than what we'd see in a bigger town, that's for sure. That's nice to see and nice to hear about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, everybody's got idiots, but
Probably less per capita.
Yeah, we have less per capita here, so.
Oh, good. I got a politically charged question for you. So
Okay.
if you don't want to answer it, just let me know.
Okay.
Was Trudeau's famous photo op visit helpful at all? Did it actually help public awareness of the event?
Not at all. Everything I read and heard was pretty harsh on the guy. But I mean, understandably, because he comes in with this big film crew and they had to shut down this big area. And as far as I know, he only helped fill like 5 sandbags with the family. But I mean, it's nice to see him out and helping out. But this big zone that they had to clear off held up so many people from getting sandbags quicker. So all of a sudden, at that point, the more time you spend getting sandbags, the more your house is getting destroyed, right? So
Yeah.
Yeah, see, my original hope was that he would maybe raise public awareness, get some more volunteers moving, or into the area or something. But yeah, it sounds like it was just a disaster, doesn't it?
yeah, it was kind of funny because we later heard about Andrew Scheer being there, and we didn't even know till after the fact. He didn't bring a camera crew or anything, but he was there for quite a few hours filling sandbags. So it was good to see.
Cool.
Oh.
So just on the local level, like how involved were the emergency services, meaning like police, fire, ambulance, and such, at the beginning and end? Because like were they visible constantly, like doing 18-hour days, or they kind of disappear and kind of stick with their own families, or how did it work in just general?
We didn't see them a whole lot up here, but it was still everybody hands on deck. Like the flooding in the town closest to us wasn't as bad, right? So they were hitting where the flooding was worse, and yeah, they were a great help between enforcement and fire department, and then of course the ambulances with anybody that was being pulled out of ruined buildings or out of their cars or whatever the case is, right?
Well, that's awesome to hear. Because after a while, you'd think fatigue would set in, and they'd be like, I just can't do anymore. But no, it
Oh,
sounds
I'm sure there was lots of that going around.
yeah.
Everybody was, like I said, everybody was all hands on deck doing what they could. So
Well, that's great to hear. Yeah.
As far as warning goes about the flooding, how did it come in? Like, was it just like typical, like we would all think over news and TV, or were there other sources that you had for warning that this is starting up?
there was some like couple months early predictions that we'd have high flooding, but of course when you're used to looking at the weather channel where the weather's never what it's supposed to be, everybody kind of fluffed it off, right? And then all of a sudden it happened, and it happened so quick. There was no real warning. It was the water's here and getting worse, so get your.
It's interesting to hear that there was a prediction on the Weather Network. It's
Well, they're
Yeah.
they're kind of like baseball players. They're paid to be wrong
Yeah.
about 2/3 of the time, but they do their job about 1/3 of the time. They're considered good.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
just when you don't expect them to be right, they're right, of course.
Yeah.
yeah, of course, yeah.
So actually, just to clarify, we kind of touched on it briefly, but did you actually guys ever lose power in your personal house or anything? And if so, how long did it take to get restored?
We didn't lose power. I know there was some houses around, and of course, Katrine lost power. And it was, I think, 4 days, 5 days, I think was the average.
Okay.
So
Well,
not horribly long, but still a while.
Yeah, still probably a pain in the behind for sure.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. But yeah, we were lucky enough not to lose power.
Oh, good. So what's one message that you'd want everybody who's listening to hear in regards to being prepared for a flooding event? Is there like a main message you'd want to put out?
It was funny actually because there was a Facebook post when all this come around, or a comment I should say, and they were asking who to call when they were stuck in their house. And my message is that if it's bad enough you're going to get stuck in your house, just leave.
Fair enough.
But definitely, have a bug out bag, or even a bare minimum bug out bag in your vehicle or anything, because a lot of the flooding happened when people were at work too. So, all of a sudden you get stranded in your vehicle and they can't come get you for a couple hours because they're off getting everybody else. It all adds up. So
Oh,
definitely
good points.
be prepared on the go.
And kind of know your limit and kind of get an
Yeah.
idea as to when it's time to go, and actually don't be stubborn and go.
Yeah, exactly. Don't wait to plug up emergency services because they've got other people to deal with.
Oh yeah, they're going to be
Fair
overwhelmed
enough.
with the backlog for sure. I mean, it's just they're not meant to cover extreme events like this at all. So actually, a double-sided question. I think Eric and I will handle each half. But is there any gear in your preps that you thought maybe would be useful, but you end up not using? Like like we all pack, various bug out bags with all sorts of random equipment, but you don't always need them, right?
Yeah. Anything off the top of my head? I definitely would have liked to put more waterproof matches in my bag.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's a lot harder to start fires with wet wood, which is
Fair enough.
definitely something we thought about. Other than that, I have a pretty low scale bug out bag, so I probably need quite a bit of gear to begin with.
That's a good point. I'm going to add some more waterproof matches to mine. I've only got one box right now, so I might up that a little bit.
Well, even a
Yeah.
small scale bag's better than nothing too, right?
Oh yeah.
Well, yeah, these little waterproof containers you can get on eBay or whatever, right? Those come in handy in such situations. Or even trash bags if you got nothing else.
Yeah, something's better than nothing, right?
Yeah.
Was there any gear in your preps that like significantly helped during the event?
Not a whole lot, just because it didn't hit us as hard. But if I were to go from the perspective of somebody who did get hard with it, I don't know. I'd probably say a spare change of clothes or a couple, and any kind of waterproof containers or bags you have for sure.
Well, yeah.
handy.
Anything from like electronics to cash, whatever. Everything needs to be kept out of the water, right?
Well, yeah, that's it. You all of a sudden have to walk through this water, and you've got nothing to put your phone or whatever electronics you have in, and there goes your communications if you don't have any little walkie-talkies or nothing.
Well, that's awesome. That's a whole lot of information you've given us for sure.
That's great. Is there anything else that you'd want to add in that we haven't questioned you on or thrown out there?
Can't think of anything off the top of my head, but definitely just going over, if there's flooding happening and it's happening, don't stay in your house and wait for it if you know you're in a flood zone.
Yeah.
Well,
Move while you can.
especially nowadays, like a lot of these bigger cities, when they're trying to expand and do infill, they're building on these 100-year floodplains, which 99 years out of 100 is fine, but that 100th year, it's gonna flood.
Well, that's just it, right? And like I want to say people were caught off guard, but we weren't hugely caught off guard either. Like it happened quick, but there was definitely some pre-warning we all could have listened to, ourselves included.
Cool.
Good to know. Okay, so we'll move into the podcast challenge.
All right. So for this episode, we just want to make sure you just take a hard look around your home and identify any flooding weakness that is present, and maybe just think about addressing it, whether it be a sump pump in your basement, maybe it needs to be changed out or replaced, and any sort of weakness you might have, even if it's just boiled down to bad windows, bad caulking around the edges of the windows to make sure it's a little more rainproof. Just see what you can do to improve your flood preparedness.
And then when you do the walk around your house and identify some points of weakness, flip us an email at feedback@prepperpodcast.ca. Let us know what you found, and then we can share it with everybody else. Just that way we can get it out there, because you may have found it, but somebody else may have missed it when they were walking around their place, and they're able to go back and double check something. So flip us an email, let us know what you did.
It's definitely something we might not have even thought of it too, right? Like, I mean, for us around here, it's the weeping tiles. You got to make sure they stay clear, to make sure they drain properly and stuff. And yeah, it may not even come to some people. So yeah, the more I guess awareness we have, the better.
Absolutely.
Well, yeah, the more things you're prepared for, the less caught off guard you are. So
Absolutely. So let's move into episode closing. So we've got some upcoming events. So we've still got the annual Preppers Meet in Desboro, Ontario coming up. That's July 11th to the 14th. Check out annualpreppersmeet.com. Grab your tickets. It's a great event. There's all kinds of instructors and people that come out and teach a wide variety of topics. Lots of knowledgeable people. It's a great couple of days to spend with a whole bunch of like-minded people. So come out and check it out. Again, that's the annual Preppers Meet, July 11th to the 14th.
All right, so we got the Western Canada Hot Springs Meet less than 2 weeks away now, May 25th and 26th. It's the weekend after the May long weekend. It's at Sloquet Hot Springs. A couple links in the show notes on how to get there and what it's all about. So a little bit of a Campcraft discussion and meetup for like-minded people. So far, it seems we've got about half a dozen people showing up, so that should be good.
Nice.
And so if you need to find it, it's on the maps.me app. You can look it up on there. Also, July 6th, the Podcaster Charity Shoot, Drumheller, Alberta. So you don't have to be a podcaster to show up there. Everybody's welcome. Planned events are a Mapleseed course. Actually, on the 5th of July, the Mapleseed course is just like a 22 marksmanship course, and you get a little marksmanship badge if you finish it. Stop the Bleed course on the 6th, as well as the shoot, and also, most importantly, a pig roast. So they're doing actually like a full-on pig on a spit, and yeah. So their tickets are available via the Facebook page, which is the 9th annual Podcaster Charity Shoot. About $40 for the charity shoot, $40 for the pig roast, which includes like all the pork you can eat and a bunch of other stuff. And all the proceeds go to the Big Country Anti-Violence Association. So that should be a good one.
Awesome. Mm-hmm. All right, let's move into some shout-outs. So I've got Chris Gilmore here. He was on a couple of episodes ago with us. He's got the Survive the Storms online preparedness course that he runs. He's offered us a 50% off coupon. So if you throw in the coupon box there, if you're going to go and order his course, throw in the coupon code CPP50. So it's CPP50. That'll give you 50% off the course. That is, of course, not to be confused with the original CPP being the Canadian Patriot Podcast. But that's the code that he gave us for the Canadian Prepper Podcast.
That's a good course.
Excellent. Yeah, so Joseph, you did that course, didn't you?
Yeah, we did. And actually, just as we're hitting some of the points he was talking about flooding, not to spoil too much, but it was kind of funny how it all coincidence together. So the course definitely came in handy during all this massive rain and flooding.
That's good to hear.
Good to know, yeah.
Do you have any shout-outs at all, Joseph?
I was definitely going to shout out Chris for sure, because that, like I said, that course came in handy. And then a shout out to all the volunteers and emergency services and the military and everything that came to help out and gave us their all, because it helped a lot and made everything go quicker.
That's awesome. For myself, I got Vic Prepper 11. Thanks for the nice visit. It was always nice to meet up with a local guy. Also, listener Brad. So I met him on Canadian Gun Nuts, and turns out he just got back from the Huntsville area when I was talking to him. So he spent a bunch of time there filling sandbags, and I just wanted to say thanks for his service.
Awesome. All right, let's move into some email and iTunes reviews. So as far as email goes to feedback at prepperpodcast.ca, we're still at goose egg. We haven't had any in a couple of episodes. Starting to wonder if the email is broken. Not going to lie, I sent a test email from another email account of mine to it. It still works. So flip us an email. Let us know what you like, what you don't. As far as iTunes reviews, we've got a couple of those, so I know people are still listening. We've got one from May the 7th from Barnski, and I'm probably mispronouncing that. I apologize, but it's a 4-star. So we're at 2 4-stars now. and it's pointed right directly at me. I actually got a good chuckle at the pre-show. So it's actually titled For Eric. It goes, great podcast. This one's for Eric. So he stops fretting about only having 1 4-star review.
See, be careful what you wish for, right?
Well, hey, I don't know if I was exactly fretting, but hey, all right. You know what? We've got 2 4-star reviews now, so And then from May the 10th, we've got a review here from GTI Dave, and it's titled Preparedness Canadian Style. It says, a solid information discussion from a Canadian perspective, presented in a well-organized and friendly manner, easy to follow, with only the occasional audio glitch. I keep getting harped on with the audio glitches, but it's the internet, is what it is. Keep up the good work, guys. So, and we got 5 stars from him. So we're at 19 5 stars and 2 4 stars, but don't worry about those little guys. I'm going to carry on with that. As far as Podbean goes, no reviews on there. So you can leave reviews there as well if you'd like. And again, no emails to the feedback at prepperpodcast.ca. So, let's see. So I guess with that, I'll bring episode number 23 of the Canadian Prepper Podcast to an end. You can find the podcast on iTunes, Podbean, Spotify, or your favorite podcast app. Please help us out and take a few minutes and submit a review. It helps other people find us, and you can also find us at prepperpodcast.ca.
And then, of course, we record these shows on YouTube live chats. So if you want an early peek at the shows, please subscribe to the YouTube channel, The Island Retreat, and make sure you click that notifications tab so that you know when we're putting up videos. That'll make sure you know. And then you can contact me directly by my email on crackeminer@gmail.com if you have any questions about the flooding, of course. I will definitely get to those as quickly as possible.
Awesome. You can reach Ian directly by emailing me at theislandretreat@gmail.com. You can also find me giving me my 2 cents worth on Canadian Patriot Podcast, also available on iTunes and YouTube. There you'll find us exposing more government waste, squirreling off on the odd tactically driven conversation, and airing our grievances online versus at the local pub.
All right, so please check out Rapid Survival at rapidsurvival.com. You can get me there in the live chat while you're buying some prepper gear. You can also email me. Remember, I'm getting lonely on the email. Please send a few. Feedback at prepperpodcast.ca. And Joseph, just a quick thank you very much for coming on this evening and letting us know your experiences. I know anybody else listening is going to gain a lot of information from you going through this and the information that you've been able to provide. So it's greatly appreciated.
Do what little bit I can.
So thanks for joining us, and you can tune in next episode. Hopefully Alan will be done with wax on, wax off, and he'll be covering lockpicking with us. So until next time, be prepared, stay safe,
and keep learning.